Hello, hello, my dear health seekers. Inga from Health Origins here, and welcome to week 15 of Meal Prep for Weight Loss show. So today I'm going to be making two very easy recipes. One of them is from my Forks Over Knives Cookbook that I'm going to start first. Is rice and broccoli casserole. I actually got to love casseroles lately because it's just such a quick throw together, put it in the oven, done recipe. And then the second recipe is gonna be me trying to recreate a Wagamama Bang Bang Cauliflower dish. I have never actually tried that dish, and I don't even know if they do it vegan. I know they do it vegetarian, but I'm not sure if they do a vegan version because the recipe I saw on Wagamama website, they put a few Wagamama recipes of how they make it. The recipe had honey in it, so I'm not sure whether there is a vegan version of that in the restaurants once they reopen, but I thought I'll give the cauliflower recipe a go, and I'm gonna veganize it. So let's begin. So I'm gonna start with the broccoli rice casserole dish from Forks Over Knives. So this is slightly a little bit of an adapted version because I'm not making the version of cheese sauce. I'm making kind of my own concoction, which is very similar, I think, to theirs, except that it doesn't have any fat actually in this one. So I've got three broccoli florets that I've cut up and steamed for about 5 minutes, and then I've poured some cold water on it to cool the cooking process down so it doesn't quite fully get cooked through. It's kind of nearly there. So this is three medium florets of broccoli, and also if you notice there's also bits of the core that I use, so I just peel the core, the tough outer layer, and then chop it up and just steam it as I would the broccoli. Or you could do the same with cauliflower or cabbage stem as well. So any cruciferous, you could use the core, the stem. Don't throw it out. So I've got that. Then I'm skipping one step by using already cooked brown rice. So this is brown basmati rice that I already had prepared previously in my Instant Pot. We use it obviously for different recipes to have with curries and other dishes, quick stir fries and so on. So I'm using 3 cups of cooked brown rice, or you need 1.5 cups of dry brown rice, and then it'll double obviously in volume once you cook it, and you'll need 3 cups of stock to boil. So basically that's what the recipe says: 1.5 cups of rice, and then you boil it in 3 cups of stock until it's done. About 40-45 minutes in the normal pot, or an Instant Pot is about, I found it's about 12-13 minutes. It's perfect amount on low pressure. So let's get started with the sauce. So what I'm going to use for my cheesy no-fat sauce. So this is a no-fat sauce. There's no nuts or seeds of any kind added to this one. So it's a very, very low-calorie one, which is great for obviously the weight loss. If you do miss a bit of creaminess, you could always add either some soaked cashews, maybe a handful or 2 soaked cashews, or even soaked sunflower seeds if you're allergic to nuts, or you could even put a couple of tablespoons of coconut milk, the solid stuff at the top, if you wanted a little bit more kind of fat in your recipe. But I'm just gonna go very low fat here, because you have to think that every kind of vegetable, all the plant foods, they have some fat inside them already naturally. So it's not like a zero fat as in, but zero added fat. In fact, the stock I'm using, so this is a vegan marigold stock that I'm using, that has a little bit of oil, I believe, just tiny amounts, but other than that, there's no added fat here. So I've got 2 roasted carrots and about 1/4 of butternut squash. So I slow roasted these for about 30 minutes on about 170 in a closed kind of roasting tin. So these are nice and soft, ready to be pureed. And what I've got here to puree it with, I've got my stock. So I'm going to make it quite a runny cheese sauce. So you don't need, when you normally make this cheese sauce, go with the consistency you like. But for this one, I want kind of a little bit more liquid because it's going to, you know, thicken up, evaporate a little bit as well, get absorbed in the ingredients. So I'm adding all of the 2 cups of stock I've got here. So it's going to be very liquidy. Then I'm adding about a teaspoon of onion powder. Mine is a little bit bitty here, but it'll obviously get blended up. About half a teaspoon of garlic powder. And about 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika. So this will give like a smoky cheese flavor. So this is, I think this is my last. I'm devastated. I think this is my last of smoked paprika. I'll probably have to put an order into buywholefoodsonline.com. I'll link to for you below, you know, where you can get your own smoked paprika if you're here in the UK. It's really great. I love adding, you know, the smoky flavor to dishes. If you don't like using paprika, you could also use liquid smoke in recipes if you don't need that, you know, red color or that taste of paprika, but just want smokiness in something white, for example, like white cheese or whatever, and you don't want to put paprika in there, then you can just put a little bit of liquid smoke. So paprika, then we're gonna put our magic ingredient, which is the nutritional yeast. So this one is the with fortified with B12, and about good 4 big tablespoons of it I'm using, and then I'll put a couple of tablespoons of apple cider vinegar here. That's just to give that cheesy tang. So a couple of tablespoons here. You could also use, like I love to use olive brine. So that will add a little bit more saltiness as well. So just be careful not to over salt. Maybe add a little bit less stock powder then. But it shouldn't be too bad actually. So I'm gonna blitz this up to make a uniform sauce. I have to go careful because it's very liquid. So like I say, if you're making this just as a sauce to have, you know, for nacho dips, it's perfect. Or, you know, as mac and cheese, for example, you make it a little bit less watery, a little bit less runny than this. So perhaps for the amounts, you know, for the 2 carrots and the 1/4 of butternut. So this is such an easy, quickly throw together dish. And I'm preheating my oven in the kitchen on 170 degrees Celsius or 350 Fahrenheit it would be, but mine is fan assisted. So if yours is not fan assisted, you could probably maybe put it on 180 or so, or 175. So I'll mix the rice here, just break it up and mix it up. And now I'm gonna pour the sauce all over. Smells yummy. You could also blend in either a roasted pepper or even a fresh red paprika into the sauce. That will work really well as well. In fact, I'll link in the description below and in the card above the recipe of the no fat cheese sauce that I've got on my channel. So you know another version how to make it with the pepper. So I'm just giving it a good mix, just so that the sauce is distributed on the rice and the broccoli well. So now the sauce has been distributed pretty much evenly, and I'm gonna be putting this in the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes. I'll check on it after about 30 minutes and see. And apparently you need to go until it kind of starts to look a bit bubbly. So let's check on it after about 30 or so minutes. So while the broccoli rice casserole is baking in the oven, I'll be getting on with the Bang Bang Cauliflower recipe, kind of loosely based on Wagamama sauce, because I don't have all the ingredients for the sauce they specify, but I'll be kind of being creative and trying to improvise and make similar tasting sauce. Like I say, I've never had it in the Wagamama, so I'm not sure how authentic it's going to taste, but I'm sure it's going to be delicious. So let's start with the sauce. They've started with some soy sauce and some vegetarian oyster sauce. They said I don't have that. However, I've looked online that you can get a vegan version of kind of soy mushroom based sauce that resembles the oyster sauce a bit. So what I've done, I've soaked some dried portobello mushrooms, so maybe just a handful of portobello mushrooms, and I poured some boiling water on it, so, and left it to sit there for about 15-20 minutes now. So I'm gonna pour that out. That'll give like this umami mushroom taste. So any kind of dried mushrooms, especially porcini or shiitake mushrooms, would be great because they're kind of much stronger tasting mushrooms. So I'm going to add, so it's probably about maybe quarter of a cup of that mushroom water here, and then I'm going to add about maybe 2-3 tablespoons of soy sauce. So this is just regular soy sauce. I use it in a different jar, a smaller jar. Brown rice vinegar. It's not brown rice vinegar. It's some soy sauce. So about 2, maybe put a little bit more. About 2.5 tablespoons of soy sauce. Then I'll put probably about a couple of tablespoons of sweet chili sauce, and also some sticky plum sauce. They used honey, so I'm kind of replacing it with sweetish sauces to try and mimic that honey kind of sweetness and stickiness. So this is sticky plum sauce. Probably put a couple of tablespoons of that as well. And I'm not sure if I need some maple syrup, because I've got some maple syrup. So I thought maybe I'll add maybe a tad of that, maybe a tablespoon of maple syrup as well. Not a lot, because this is supposed to be like a sticky and sweet sauce, and it's quite watery because I had quite a bit of mushroom water, but it'll thicken out, you know, in the frying pan. And then the last thing he added was the chili flakes. So I'm gonna add just a little bit. We are not massive fans of hotness, so I'm not adding too much, just maybe 1/4 teaspoon for us. Should I put a bit more? It's supposed to be quite a spicy sauce, so I'll put like a little tiny bit more, but we're not really, we can't handle too much spice, so I'm not going crazy on here. If you love your spice, then by all means add as much as you like for the sauce to have, you know, some kick. Because obviously I've added some sweet chili sauce as well, which has got some heat already, so I don't want to overdo it. So in the meantime now, I'm gonna put the pan on stir fry mode, and we're gonna be cooking the cauliflower. So I've just you know, cleaned it, chopped it up. I used the stalk again, as you can see. Don't throw away, obviously, the stalk. Just try and use and be zero waste as much as you can, and obviously I thrown whatever else was left over. Actually, I'm using some inside cauliflower leaves as well. I'll just add it to the stir fry. So the tougher ones, the more dirty ones, I've put it in the compost, but the more inner leaves I've saved, and I'm going to add to the stir fry. So I'm going to add my cauliflower. So this is raw cauliflower, and I need a spatula. So in the recipe, the cauliflower was raw, so I'm kind of doing the same things, trying to cook it slightly first before we add the sauce and all other ingredients. And then let's just discuss what else I've got. So I've got one red onion that I've sliced into half moons, thin slices. I'm gonna chuck in the mushrooms as well, why not? Then I've got 2 scallions or green onions here, chopped small, and then, like I said, cauliflower leaves. So this is gonna be the simple, quick recipe. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna add a little bit of olive brine, or you could use some water or stock, and I'm gonna just put maybe 1/4 cup, and I'm gonna put a lid on and let it steam a little bit to kind of cook through, because we don't want raw cauliflower in our dish. So I'm going to let it cook just a little bit with the olive brine or water or stock if you're using that. You know, give it a couple of minutes, and then we're going to be adding the other ingredients too. So this is steaming really crazy here. So I'm gonna just let the water evaporate a little bit. So once your water pretty much evaporated, we'll add onions, because we want them to fry a little bit. Add green onions, red onion, and also I'll add the scallions too, the green onions. We'll fry it for a couple of minutes, dry fry it. And if it starts sticking, then always, you know, you could add a little bit more of the brine or the stock or the water you're using. Because we don't want it to burn, we want it to nicely fry. So it's starting to brown a little, the onions, as you can see. So I'm gonna now add the sauce. So add the sauce and also the rest of the ingredients, the mushrooms and the cauliflower leaves as well. Actually, I've just thought a date syrup would be great thickener as well. If you've got some date syrup, I've actually got a little bit of date syrup I could have used, but you know, because date syrup is thicker than the maple syrup, that'll, you know, work nicer to thicken the sauce out a bit more. But it'll cook down itself. It'll evaporate, the water will evaporate from it, and it should thicken out in the pan. It doesn't seem sticky enough for me, or red enough, so I'm going to add another tablespoon or so of the sweet chili sauce, just to make sure it's nice and sticky. So the addition of mushroom is definitely a variation of the recipe. If you want to do a little bit more traditional bang bang cauliflower from Wagamama's recipe, then do not add the mushrooms themselves, at least. But you know, I like experimenting. So yeah, so I'll give it a go, see what happens. It's smelling nice and it's starting to thicken up more now. I still think it needs a couple more minutes or so, just so that it's more thick and sticky. So that's looking thickened out now. As you can see, it's looking quite glazy and sticky. So I'm gonna just switch it off. And I'm gonna try and get you my taste tester, professional taste tester, in the form of my husband Mark. So my husband couldn't make it, he's a bit busy, but I've got my mum to help us taste test this. So Mum, this is cauliflower with some sweet sticky chili sauce. So try alone, and then you can have it with bread as well. Oh. It can be a little bit spicy.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Spicy, but it's okay.
Yeah, it's quite sweet. A little bit spice, not.
Ah, with bread, very nice.
And some whole grain no knead bread. I'll link to the bread in the description below, my no knead whole grain bread there.
Your bread.
Yeah.
So
what do you think?
I think it's very good.
My mum enjoyed it, so here you go.
Yeah.
So this is
like.
one recipe done. Now we're gonna check on the rice broccoli casserole as well.
Because Pig and I eating, okay?
So now this is the finished product, the rice broccoli casserole. So it's been baking for about 35 minutes, and we're gonna taste test.
Contrast.
Yeah. So this is no fat. It's very hot, huh? This is no fat.
It's broccoli.
Yeah. Done.
It's broccoli.
Done.
It's broccoli. It's broccoli. Nice.
Maybe it needs a little bit more salt. If you like pepper, maybe put some salt and pepper on here.
It's rice.
Rice and cheese sauce. Yeah.
Rice with broccoli.
Yeah. I would say definitely needs a little bit more salt, maybe some pepper. We could even add a little bit of sweet chili sauce. But yeah, this is good.
Very good.
Yeah?
Very good.
You enjoy it?
Yeah.
Good. My mum enjoyed both of the dishes. So let's pull everything together and see what I prepared this week.
I very like vegetables.
Yeah, my mum loves vegetables. So this is the lot this week. So apart from the cauliflower bang bang dish, which is pretty much finished, and the dish that I cooked, the broccoli rice casserole, I also made a few other things. So as I mentioned, I cooked some more rice. So I've got another thing of rice there as well. I've made a red cabbage slaw that I have a recipe. I'll link to you in the description below and in the card above. So it's pretty easy. You basically shred the cabbage thinly, grate some carrot, add a bit of sweet chili sauce, a bit of red wine vinegar, and a bit of salt, and that's pretty much it. And actually a bit of lemon juice and a bit of zest as well. You'll see in the original video. So yeah, but you know, you could skip the lemon zest. If you didn't have any lemon, you could just use the red wine vinegar, as I said, or you could use apple cider vinegar if you didn't have red wine vinegar. I made seitan, so this time I made a firmer seitan, more of a like a beefy kind of looking seitan. So I made it with, I'll link to the recipe below, but I've used taco seasoning, and I've used kidney beans instead of chickpeas, so I used kidney beans. I used 1 cup of rice as well, and just some barbecue sauce, so just kind of to make it more beefy flavored. And then I made some Mars bars. The recipe for the Mars bars is coming to the channel soon. I'll put it on the link once I've made the recipe. And my no knead whole grain bread. So this time I've actually overproved it a little bit, and it's, you know, risen too much, and then when baking it kind of dropped a little bit. As you can see, it's kind of dropped. It's half a loaf, by the way. We're already eaten half of it, but and I also used up some buckwheat flour as well to mix it up, so it's kind of a little bit different to the just a whole grain wheat flour, but it actually still worked. So yeah, so this is the lot for week 15. Let me know which one was your favorite recipe out of the 2 I've tried, and let me know what you normally have as your go-to meal prep dish. I might be able to make this on the channel as well. And if you're new here, welcome to the channel. I hope you subscribe for more videos just like this every Saturday, meal prep for weight loss show, or on Wednesdays I do either a weight loss tip video or a tasty recipe video. So give me a thumbs up if you like this video, and let me know what other recipes you would like to see me make on the show. And remember, food is fuel, so be mindful of what you put in the body. Until next time.